Thank you for joining us in another episode of Property Doctor. In the recent times, we'll be hearing about building collapse in our country, Nigeria. In last year, 2019, so many buildings collapsed, about 43. And in the last 1 week, we've heard about 4 buildings collapsing in Nigeria. We heard about the collapse in Lagos State, in Abia State, in Delta State, and in Anambra State. Now we are looking at the buildings that collapsed. During this period, a lot of people lost their lives, their properties, and so many people are still fighting for their lives because they are still in the hospital right now. Today, we'll be talking about the role of the legal experts concerning the collapse of building. Who should be prosecuted for the collapse of building? And we have with us today in the studio Barrister David Ashaolu. You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so it's nice having you in the studio with us today. So, what is building collapse?
I may not be able to answer that question technically, but I mean, it's something that's visible when a building collapses, when a structure, whether under construction or already completed, comes down through any other means but direct, deliberate destruction.
Okay. Now, when we're looking at the buildings that have collapsed, some of them are existing structures and some of them are under construction.
Very well.
Who should be prosecuted during the collapse, for the collapse of the building? I mean, when the building collapsed, after the building is an existing structures and people are staying there, who should be prosecuted?
So there are multiple layers to all of this, right? So the first question you want to ask is, who is responsible for the building?
Okay.
If it's my personal building and it collapses, do I have the requisite authority to put a structure? The essence of all of this is you can transfer the blame. The owner of the property can transfer the blame to the government by saying, I showed you my plans, you approved them, I did soil test, you approved everything, and I've built. So if there's a problem and it's structural and it has to go to the soil or the structures, if I follow the plan that you approved, then I cannot be liable because I did what I'm supposed to do. I am not an engineer, I'm just a property owner.
That's what the owner will say.
That's what the owner will say. So
okay.
To exonerate the owner, they need to have an approved building plan from the government. If they don't, they take responsibility 100%.
That's the owner of the
property.
Takes responsibility for the collapse of the building.
If he does not have an approved building plan.
Okay.
Now, take it away from the owner. Let's say the owner successfully claims that he has an approved building plan. The government would say, still, we are not going to be responsible for this collapsed building because we didn't build it, right? Maybe you use substandard products. Then the owner would say, well, for that purpose, I employed an engineer that has current certificates, is a builder, is a professional. That is the person, an architect, that's the person that supervises this building. So the responsibility or the liability will move to the engineer or the architect that supervised the building.
Okay, now it's going to the technical team that builds.
Exactly, that builds.
Okay.
Because the supervisor or the architect, as it were, is the one that makes the final decision, I believe, before they move to every milestone. He looks at the foundation, he looks at the lintel, he looks at the GPC. I mean, all these things.
All the elements.
So he's the one that gives the approval. So that makes him responsible for the quality of materials that are used, or that is used. Quality of materials used. So basically, the responsibility can move to him. But then the architect may come and say, I was working for you as the owner of the building. I was just like an employee to you. So the liability of the employee moves to the employer. It's called vicarious liability. A way around it is to determine whether truly the architect was working for the owner as an employee or if he was employed as a professional. So the distinction here is between contract of service and contract for service.
Contract of service and contract for service.
Yes.
So, okay, can you briefly explain
Absolutely.
Just contract for service
and contract of service.
Yeah.
So some property owners try to be smart.
Yeah.
You want to build a property and then you employ an architect to work for you as an employee that you pay salary. Then you told him part of your job is to go and supervise that building. That is contract of service.
Okay.
That's the law will put in the same category as they will put your driver, your chauffeur, as it were, your cook, because you're paying him salary as a staff. You will be responsible for whatever he does.
Okay, that's the owner.
The owner. That is vicarious liability.
All right.
The employer is responsible for the liability or negligence of the employee.
Okay.
But if you employ him as a professional, you're an architect, what I want you to do is take care of this building, and then he gives you his bills, and you pay. You pay the professional fees.
Yeah.
That's contract for service. For his services.
For his services, yeah. As
a professional, then he will be liable.
Okay. But in Abuja, there's development control.
Yes.
And they check buildings from stage to stage, especially when you have to do maybe you're doing the foundation, the structural work is being carried out. They come to inspect those buildings. Do you think they should be held responsible if the building was completed and they have maybe a fault or the building finally collapsed?
So my experience with development control involvement in building in Abuja is they warn you. They will not take responsibility for a collapsed building. But if they notice any structural defects, they will warn. So that different clients have received different warnings for development control. And the warning will be clear. If anything happens to this building, you will be fully responsible for it. So the law that establishes development control does not automatically make them responsible for a building collapse, but they have regulatory roles to play.
Okay.
So if the argument is that we can start making them responsible because they have approving authority and they approve, then the argument can as well be made. Just like I made the first argument that you can say I got a building plan, all my building plans were approved before I proceeded to build it. So the argument may be made, especially if you have okay, let me recap. No, I said government can come and say we didn't, we're not part of the materials, we didn't give you. So,
exactly.
But if you can show in writing, for instance, that government actually approved the materials I used, approved me moving to the next stage, then you can move the liability again back to the government.
Okay, but you see, most materials that are bought in the market, sometimes you even need to test the reinforcement, that is the iron that is going to be used. You need to test the cement. You need to do a cube test to check the concrete. Now, you have done this test, but you cannot test all the materials before using them on site.
Why not?
You cannot test all of them. Maybe every cement that comes in, you take a scoop and test. What if it was mixed?
Yes, that's why you test it.
You understand? You don't understand the question.
Okay.
You see, sometimes you can go to the market, they can mix the material up for you.
Okay.
So sometimes you can also have maybe poor quality materials that were brought to site.
Okay.
So what I'm thinking is that most of the time you don't have good quality material that people are using. Maybe if just a fraction of it is substandard, the building may not collapse. So the blame will not go totally to the agents that are checking at that time because they may not know.
No.
Yeah. But what if you look at it this way, that, okay, they brought in the material, maybe after maybe concrete has been done or the reinforcement has been fixed, that the building, the development control approved. Do you think they should prosecute them even at that time that there's a failure that they are saying, because they will know?
You mean development control?
Yes, they will know.
So, as I said, development control will definitely warn you in writing if they suspect anything like that. That's my experience. Except if
And
you're
they'll put it into
they will
writing.
put it in writing. They will
Yes.
tell you this and this are the issues with your property.
Okay.
They may even tell you to stop development
work.
and correct the defects.
Yes.
And there's always a clause. If anything happens to this property, you'll be fully liable. It's
Yeah.
always contained in the letter.
Yes.
So if you are saying that development control officials are refusing to warn people after seeing defects, then they'll be responsible for it. And with respect to the materials, the question would always be who ordered or who sponsored the substandard materials. If the owner of the property or the contractor buys substandard materials because he wants to save money, the liability will move to him. If the seller of the materials was fraudulent and sold substandard materials for the price of good materials, liability will move to him. Every player. That's why I said there are multiple layers of liability. But what I just have to say quickly is that, one, the Building Act of 1976, I believe, which is not 2004, says that only professional builders should build.
Yes, not
quacks.
Not quacks.
Yes, that's one. That's one thing every property owner should put in mind. Number two, the Insurance Act says that every public property must be insured against building collapse.
Okay, in the among the building team, you have the architects, you have the engineers, you have the builders, you have the quantity surveyor, the land surveyor, and the asset surveyor. Now, from this law you have stated now, is the builders that are actually supposed to be inside.
Yes.
And to build.
Professional.
And they may be professional builders.
Must be. Not may.
No, must be professional builders.
A non-lawyer cannot go to court.
Yes.
That's what Fem Falana said.
Yeah.
So he said, why would a non-builder build?
It's true.
When they are professional builders.
Builders, yeah. Okay, now we are still talking about the material because material causes collapse of buildings. Poor quality material causes collapse of buildings sometimes. Now, do you think the government should prosecute those selling poor quality material in the market?
So the reason I paused is it's business and it's contracts and it's buying and selling. So if I come to you and I say I have good quality, I have poor quality, and you choose to buy the poor quality materials, that's not on me.
Just like we have NAFTA doing their job. They check they check drugs, they check food, they check production of water,
so
and
you
so
know
on.
why I don't think NAFTA the NAFTA analogy will work here. These poor quality materials, so to speak, can still erect some buildings, maybe just not as big as what people are using them for, I believe.
But you can't say.
Except if you're saying they can never erect any kind of building at all.
Yeah, because for instance, you have some reinforcements that cannot go beyond a particular limit, and they will just break.
Okay, but these reinforcements can actually get to some limits.
No, you're supposed to use them for a particular kind of job.
Yes.
Now, when they are selling in the market, they don't know what they are using the material.
That's why you
for.
pay an architect. That's why you pay an engineer. That's why you pay a builder.
A
That's why
builder.
you get professionals. So the point I'm making is they are not actually poor quality materials. People just use lower grade materials for higher grade work. That
Yes.
is what causes building collapse. So if you use a 2mm, for instance, 2mm iron
No.
Okay, I know you understand what I mean.
Yes.
Instead where you're supposed to use 16, for instance.
Yes.
That is not poor quality. That is you using a lower quality.
No, that one is a design. That one is becoming a design defect.
But these are the things that actually cause building collapse, basically.
There are many.
Of course. So that's the point I'm making. So it doesn't. The fact that the quality, the product, the fact that the product, the strength of the product is not carrying the building, does not mean that quality, the material is low in quality.
Okay.
It's just lack of good judgment of the engineers,
all right,
of the builders.
Okay.
TB Joshua, his church, they had approval for 2 floors. They moved it to 6. The building collapsed. Would you say poor quality material?
No, it's a design.
Of course.
It's a design problem.
The foundation maybe was not designed to carry 6
that,
floors.
yes.
maybe they didn't use enough. They didn't use strong materials for 6 floors. They used up to 2 floors.
Yeah.
So it's not always a poor quality material issue, basically.
Okay, we're having questions.
But
coming
as I
in.
said, I'm sorry
Yeah.
if I may just, as I said earlier, if you come to me and you ask for 16, whatever it is, iron, and I sell 8 to you as 16, then I'll be responsible for that.
The seller will be responsible.
Yes.
Okay. You're still tuned to Property Doctor, and questions have been coming in. But before then, I would like you to watch our Vox Pop video on building collapse to find out what Nigerians think about who should be prosecuted for building collapse, and also the other episode that talks about the maintenance of old buildings in Nigeria. Now, let me read this question to you quickly. Should buildings be collapsing frequently in Nigeria, considering that there is a building collapse prevention guild in the country? Does this mean they are not doing their jobs? 2 questions there.
So, I don't know so much about the building collapse prevention.
Yeah.
I don't know who set them up. I don't know how they came about. But I don't think that that you have policemen crime means that policemen aren't doing their job. This probably means that, maybe they can do more. Again, as I don't know their composition. But if this guild is a government institution, then we can demand more accountability.
Okay.
But if it's just private individuals coming together, then there's a limit to how much you can hold them responsible for it. There are other bodies too. There's the Builders Institute of Nigeria.
Nigerian Institute of Building.
Nigerian Institute of Building.
There's
and all these other agencies. So they all have roles to play in ensuring that there are no building collapses in Nigeria.
Okay.
But then the buildings should never collapse. Whether it's an old building
or a new building. Yes, because even in the Western world, we see buildings over 200, 300 years.
I lived in an apartment in Cambridge, Otter Street, in Boston. That building was erected 1910.
Okay.
1910.
That's over 100 years now.
And it is still there.
Yeah.
In fact, the US government will not allow you to renovate the building because they say they are monumental sites. They use them as attractions. This building has been there for 100 years.
Yeah.
And they are still there. So buildings should never collapse, basically.
Yes, if they are done properly. Yes.
By professionals. Not by Umebaro.
Now, the next question here says, do you think prosecuting contractors and developers of collapsed buildings will help solve the problem?
By all means. As I said, if you prosecute if you go after the property owner, then it will be for someone to transfer the blame to, right?
Yes, everybody
is looking for someone to transfer the blame. That is why you should employ professionals. Because they know that the blame is coming on them.
Now, this brings me to the question, when you go to some ministries or some companies, you find out that they give contracts to companies that are all people, as I was told, people that are not professionals. They get a contract job. Do you think they should specifically give the job to professionals rather than giving it to maybe their brothers or their sisters or their friends just to make money?
That's a little dicey.
Okay.
Yes, it's a little dicey because there is no law that says that the awardee of a contract cannot subcontract. And the awardee of a contract also understands that there are responsibilities or liabilities as it were. It's not well done. So the awardee of the contract is expected to subcontract to professionals. In any case, these companies that are given these jobs must have submitted some documentations that show that they have somebody on their board who is current certified, who has current certificate and stuff like that. So you can, again, 100% say that the contract has been given to someone who is not qualified because they would say, look at the documents, there's a current certificate here.
Yeah.
So the responsibility is actually on the person collecting the contract to ensure that it is done professionally. However, you raised a very vital point, which is, since I know there are bodies of builders, they should mount some pressure and advocacy on the National Assembly to pass a law, amend the Procurement Act to say a construction contract must be given to a professional builder, something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Now, one more question here. What is the role of the government in preventing building collapse? Is there anything the government is doing? Because just last week we had four buildings collapsed. Some people died. Some people are in the hospital, and properties lost. What do you think the government should do about
this conversation we've had today has brought some ideas to my mind. If every property owner can ensure they get an approved building plan, who will be responsible? So look at it this way: Lekki Gardens collapsed. The company did not have a proper building plan. Synagogue Church collapsed. They had approval for 2 years.
And nobody questioned them.
No, the case is still in court actually. Okay,
while they were moving it,
two of their engineers are facing non-starter charges, which can put them in prison for life. But the church itself is facing charges for not obtaining proper approvals for the property.
Yeah.
So, but they're not going to prosecute church for manslaughter, so they can't probably go to, they won't go to court, they won't go to prison for killing people. But the engineers who were in charge, the professionals I was talking about, contract for service, they may be going to prison for life for it. The case is going to be rounded up in 2 days from today. So, but if every property owner can ensure they get approved plans from the government, whenever a building collapses, they just push it on the government. When people start suing government for building collapse, the government will do more.
Okay. Wow, it's been a great day today, and want to thank our viewers for staying tuned and for watching this program today. I want to thank you, Barrister Dia Ashaolu, for being with us today. Do you have any last word you can tell the people viewing?
Property Doctor is a very interesting program. I've watched a couple of clips. I've also through live exercise, and I think you should stay with here. But beyond that, if you're planning to build a property, please get approved plans. And also employ professionals. They're expensive, I know. But that's the only reason why your property is not going to collapse.
Yes, because you're actually going to spend so much money putting the property together. So why don't you do the right thing by getting a professional to build it for you? So thank you for watching this program, and we hope to see you same time next week on Property Doctor. Thank you for following us on Facebook and on YouTube and on Instagram and Twitter. So if you have not joined the Property Doctor family, please do so on the link that will be shown on the screen, and follow us for more episodes on Property Doctor NG and on Twitter at Property Doc NG. See you next time.